before we get into the video, yesterday, boxing lost another one. Leon Spinks, he's best known for beating Muhammad Ali in his 9th fight. He was 7-0 with one draw when he got in the ring with Muhammad Ali. Beat him to become lineal of the heavyweight division. And then after that, he fought Ali in a rematch, and Muhammad Ali beat him in the rematch. But still, nonetheless, impressive for a guy with only 8 fights to beat a guy like Muhammad Ali, regardless of what condition people like to say Muhammad Ali was in. With that being said, let's get into the video. Oh, before that, hit the thumbs up, hit the sub, hit the bell. You know what to do. And now, lo and behold, with that being said, let's get into the video. All right, so Ryan Garcia, Manny Pacquiao. It looks like it's still on the table. It looks like they're still in discussions. It looks like they still want it to happen. With that being said, there have been people saying that, Ryan Garcia is just going to get whitewashed and it's not even going to be competitive. I disagree with that. I do not believe Ryan Garcia loses, like in the article I just read, by the second round. I don't think he gets knocked out in 2 rounds. Do I think he could get stopped? It's a very strong possibility he does get stopped. However, I do not believe he's just going to get knocked out at the opening bell or very close to it. No, I think it goes a little longer than that. If he gets knocked out, I'd imagine that it goes into, I don't know. It's going to, at least in my opinion, be a minimum of 6 rounds, I think. I don't think Manny just knocks him out like that. Yes, Manny's been fighting bigger guys. Yes, Manny comes from 2 weight classes above him. Yes, Manny's still explosive for his older age. However, Manny really hasn't knocked out any guys like that in a while. You could say Matisse, but I think Matisse naturally is a smaller guy than Ryan Garcia, even though he fought at a heavier weight class. So, again, I don't see Manny knocking him out that quickly. If he does knock him out, it's not going to be from a single shot. It's going to be from accumulation of punches, and he's definitely going to accumulate a lot of punches on Ryan Garcia. However, even after all the, this is clout chasing, this isn't going to happen, blah, 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 Golden Boy saying Manny's team reached out but nothing came from it, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. After all the people saying that Manny's just going to whoop Ryan's ass, myself included, Ryan Garcia is showing that he truly wants to rise to the occasion. The last that I saw, that they were surprised about all the backlash of the exhibition, so Ryan said that he did not want it to be an exhibition but a real fight to count on the records, which I agree with. The exhibition was a bunch of BS, so as long as it's going to be a real fight on the records, I agree with the fight. Now, Ryan stepped up to that challenge. Also, after all the people have been saying that this fight's not going to happen, Ryan's still trying to push for the Pacquiao fight. So, if this fight does get made, if it does happen, you cannot say Ryan Garcia is clout chasing or Ryan Garcia ducked Tank Davis, who was not injured with a broken hand, so he can't even fight. He's out the question no matter what. Not that Ryan knew that was going to happen, but I'm just saying that you can't say somebody's ducking somebody that has a broke head currently because they just can't fight anyways. So if this fight does happen, all that clout chasing shit goes out the window, win, lose, or draw. He stepped up to the occasion to be great, and, he'll probably end up making a lot of money at the same time. And a loss to Manny does not mean a loss to your career. And in fact, I don't think it has any negative impact on his career other than him getting beat. I guess an argument could be made that if he goes out there and he gets 100% schooled, it may make him look not that great, but at the same time, the boy is 22 years old and he's been in there with nobody near the experience of Manny Pacquiao. So again, I think even with the loss for Ryan, I think it helps him out longer in his career. It's definitely going to toughen him up because he's going to take a lot of shots. I would argue that Manny Pacquiao hits harder than Teofimo Lopez, and not only does he hit harder, but the punches come more frequent and from angles you don't expect them to come from. So at the end of the day, this is the type of lesson that you can't learn unless you get in there. It's trial by fire. And I think that, all good steel, it needs to be melted, burned, and shaped. And that's what Manny's going to do for him. Manny is going to forge him into a better fighter that may come from this loss. I mean, if he wins, it'd be amazing. But I'm just going to say come from this loss and be better than he's ever been and better than he ever would be. I mean, look at Canelo versus Mayweather. It shaped Canelo into something. So maybe the same thing's going to happen here to where Manny, like I said, is just going to melt him down, rebuild him, and forge him into something that's indestructible. So that's how I see it going. I think it's still a good fight. I think it's a good fight because you got a young guy who came off an impressive knockout win over a guy who's never been knocked out before, who was a gold medalist. And although they are smaller, Manny naturally is not a welterweight. Manny doesn't even really hit the 147 weight limit when he's there. In fact, I have argued that at 147, I think Manny looks better when he comes in around 142, 144 than he does when he's in his, 146-ish. I think he actually looks better lighter. So, again, not that big. It's not really, even though he's jumping up to fight a guy that's 2 weight classes above him, it's not really a 2 weight class jump. It's more or less like a 1.5. Because Manny's somewhere in between junior and welter. He's somewhere in between the two. He's not really a true welterweight, and he's a little bit too big to be a junior welterweight. So, like I said, he's like that in-between stage. So I would say it's more or less a 1.5, which isn't, taken away from the big jump. I'm just saying that he's not a true welterweight. He's not one of these guys like Leon Spinks who outside of fight competition is going to blow up to about 100, 175 pounds. Man, he's not that type of guy. So, again, I don't know what more I can say about this. I've made several videos on it. The fight's still on the table. I honestly think for Manny, this is probably the best fight you can make outside of, it would have been Conor if Conor would have won, but he lost. But outside of like a Floyd Mayweather, which he's not going to get, this is probably the biggest fight he can make money-wise. I don't think any of these guys bring money to the table like Ryan Garcia does. Even if he was to fight Errol Spence Jr. or Terrence Crawford, I still don't think it does the numbers that it would do against Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia's got such a huge following that the publicity on this from all the different social media sites would just be overwhelming, and there's no way that this fight wouldn't sell. Whereas Errol Spence Jr., Terrence Crawford, they don't have the biggest reach. You have diehard Errol Spence fans, but they really don't have that far of a reach. And the case in point to that is, recently I was on UGC Flame's channel, and somebody said that Errol Spence makes more money than Bud Crawford. And I was like, really? Well, let me look it up while they was talking. So I looked it up. Currently, right now, you can look from any website. Estimated net worth. Terrence Crawford, $8 million. Errol Spence Jr., $7.5 million. So that right there pretty much exposes the, Spence is a bigger name, Spence is a bigger draw, because one guy's making more money than the other guy, obviously. So again, I say this, neither one of those guys can pull as many asses into the seat and pay-per-view buys as Ryan Garcia if Ryan Garcia was in a big marquee fight like against a Manny Pacquiao. I just don't see him doing it. Now, what's better for boxing? Of course, Manny going up there, I can't even say unify anymore because he was stripped without warning, which was bullshit. But, of course, that I guess would be better for boxing. So to say, but when you're as old as Manny, it doesn't matter what's best for boxing. It matters what's best for your career, what's going to put the most money in your pocket and getting the most out of what fights you have left. So, again, I have no issues with Manny cashing out. Again, we can point to Floyd Mayweather. If Floyd Mayweather wants to fight Logan Paul, who can't even box, 50 Cent. Now, Jake Paul, I think, will be interesting. But if he wants to fight guys like that, then why so much hate on Manny doing the same, but yet doing it against qualified boxers? See, the difference here is Mayweather's fighting guys who shouldn't even be in the same ring with him. That's the problem. Everybody want to talk shit about YouTube boxers like Jake Paul, who's actually fighting. Nothing's rigged. He's actually fighting and fighting guys who are coming there to fight him. There's no disrespect there. That's a real fight. Regardless if these guys are on the same skill level as a world champion or not is irrelevant. No boxer is on that level until they make it there. Even with a deep pedigree in the amateurs, you're still not a world champion level till you get in there and fight world champions. In order to do that, unless you're a rarity like Lomachenko, you have fights that are step-up fights, and you keep stepping up each fight. Is that not what Jake Paul's doing? Is he not stepping up each fight? He fought he fought at nobody. He fought an actual ex-athlete that was a basketball player, so ex-athlete. Now he's fighting an ex-MMA fighter who's a real legitimate fighter. Hand game might not be that good, but still, slowly he is stepping up like you would see boxers do. So there's nothing disrespectful about what the boxers are doing. However, Mayweather fighting guys who are unqualified to fight him is a disrespect. So how would this be a disrespect to boxing if Manny actually fights a legitimate current threat? Regardless if he's a lighter weight class, Ryan Garcia probably outweighs Manny Pacquiao when they walk around. He's more than likely naturally bigger than Manny when he's not in fight competition shape. I guarantee you Ryan Garcia is probably about 150 pounds when he's not cutting down to fight. So in all actuality, Ryan actually is a bigger man. And on my channel, we only go by weight. Height means absolutely nothing to me. It means absolutely dick shit to me. So if you're new here, if you're tall and you're lanky and you're skinny, you're not bigger than a dude shorter than you who outweighs you, period. We go by real stats, not aesthetics of looking tall. That doesn't mean shit. It's the weight behind your ass. And again, it's going by weight behind their ass. I guarantee you Ryan Garcia, outside of fight competition, is a bigger man than Manny. So when you look at it from that aspect, Manny's not disrespecting the sport. He's fighting legitimate people who have a chance at beating him, even if Ryan's chance is low due to experience, but he could still lose because Ryan can hit hard and he hits very fast. He's very quick. So it is a possibility Manny could get caught and get put to sleep, because I can tell you Ryan Garcia sure as hell hits harder than Marquez. I can promise you that. So again, it's all how you look at it. I support it, I like it, and I hope the fight happens because I think it'll only make Ryan Garcia the better, and I would like to see Manny get a big paycheck because he's put in his time to deserve a big paycheck, even if it is an easy fight for him. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Thank y'all for watching.